We're not getting too complex yet. We're just doing the basics, and then we'll move up from there. Alrighty, so first thing is, well, what is the theorem of Pythagoras? It's all very well me saying, oh, we're doing Pythagoras today, but if you have no idea what Pythagoras is, that's a bit of a problem. All right, so Pythagoras works specifically, whoopsie daisies, with right-angled triangles. So we can only use Pythagoras in a right-angled triangle. And Pythagoras is used to determine side lengths in a triangle. It can be any one of the three sides that we have. Oopsie, we're going to get there eventually. It can be any one of the three sides that we have, but Pythagoras helps us work out side lengths in a triangle. I just want to get this perfect, otherwise what I'm going to do is not going to make sense. So, determine side lengths. And very specifically in right-angled triangles. This only works in a right-angled triangle. My finger just moving across your screen, but whatever. So there's my right angle. That's just going to set me up how absolutely terrible that looked. Didn't get any better. Whatever. All right, so there's my right angled triangle. I'm going to call this triangle A, B, C. The labels aren't super important for a triangle then. Alrighty, so if we have a look at our triangle, there's some important information that we need to know before we just jump into this. The first thing is that the side opposite our 90-degree angle is a very special side that we work with, and this is called our hypotenuse. Okay, so our hypotenuse, let's put it here, is always opposite the 90-degree angle, always, that never changes. So it's opposite our right angle, and it is always the longest side in your triangle. So those are two important facts to know about your hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is quite literally just a name we give to the side. The hypotenuse is always opposite the 90-degree angle, and it is the longest side of my triangle. Alrighty, so Pythagoras, the actual theorem of Pythagoras, says to us that if we want to work out any unknown side length, we need to take the two sides that are not the hypotenuse, square them, and add them together. Right, I'm going to write this out. So Pythagoras says that our hypotenuse squared, so the length of our hypotenuse squared, is equal to the sum of our two other sides squared. So our two other sides here are AB and BC. This is our theorem of Pythagoras. And this is why, as I said right at the start, it allows us to work out any side length in a triangle, because we are working with the side length of the hypotenuse, the side length of AB, and the side length of BC. Right, so now why all of these squares? Why is that a thing? So if we go and have a look at BC, we can see that BC is 4 units long. So if I squared it, I would end up with 16. Okay, now I'm working in terms of blocks here. My blocks are not great, but we're just going to roll with it. So here are my 4 blocks that represent how many units my BC side length is. And if I said 4 squared, I end up with the 16 blocks I've now drawn here. It's a terrible, terrible 16 block situation. We're going to roll with it. Right, if we go and have a look at my side length AB. AB is 3 units long, 1, 2, 3. If I squared 3, I'm going to get 9. So there are my 9 blocks representing AB squared. If I now took the 2 squares, the 3 squared and the 9 squared, I will get our hypotenuse squared. You know, guys, again, my drawing skills leave a lot to be desired, but we're just going to roll with it. I just want to put hypotenuse here in the middle for us. Okay, so we will end up with, oh golly, 25 blocks on the hypotenuse. I clearly didn't do art at school, guys. Just roll with it.
But we understand. You're actually better than I am. With
It is like a ridiculous, weird, I don't know. Okay, so what we end up with is 25 blocks. 9 of them have come from my 3 squared. So here are my 9 blocks from 3 squared. And the other 16 are from my 4 squared. And this is basically what Pythagoras is. The hypotenuse squared is equal to the sum of my 2 other sides squared. Shocking drawing, fully aware of that, but that is what Pythagoras says to me. All right, so if we just visualize this, much better than what I'm capable of doing right now, you'll see on the screen there's a video that's about to play for you. There are the square of my 2 sides with the blue water. And if we then turn it to fill the hypotenuse squared, you can see that those 2 squares fill up the 1 square that represents the hypotenuse. That would obviously also mean that my hypotenuse squared, if we split it up, will be the 2 other sides squared. And that is what Pythagoras says to us. All right, so the water representation was basically the same thing as me trying to draw those horrendous blocks that you had the absolute shame of having to see me try and draw. But this is what Pythagoras says to us. All right, so Pythagoras is the hypotenuse squared is equal to the sum of the square of my 2 other sides. So it's not a squared times b squared, it's a squared plus b squared. I'm fine if you use a, b, and c, that's okay, but it is a squared plus b squared, not times. All right, so guys, this is the theorem of Pythagoras. It allows us to work out any side length in a right-angled triangle. Right, before I move on, do we have any questions about what the theorem is? Charlene, go back to where I'm on my screen. I'm not too sure where you need me to go back to. If you just let me know, I'm happy to go back. I'm not too sure where you want me to go back to. Right, so guys, knowing what our theorem is, we are now able to put it into practice, i.e. we're able to apply our theorem. Okay, so if we have a look at our first example here, we've got triangle ABC, and the instruction tells us to determine the unknown lengths in the following triangle. Right, so guys, the first thing that we always do is we identify for ourselves where is the right angle, and therefore which side is my hypotenuse. So here's my right angle, and if you're confused of how to identify your hypotenuse, imagine yourself standing at the right angle and looking directly opposite you. The side that is opposite you will be your hypotenuse. So AC is my hypotenuse. That is our unknown length. I know it's the unknown length because, as you can see, it's got no measurement on it. AB has 36, BC has got 15. AC is the only one without a measurement, so that's the unknown length that I'm trying to find. So I'm trying to find the hypotenuse. So remember, our hypotenuse squared is equal to the sum of my 2 other sides squared. So AB squared plus BC squared. Now, guys, this is technically a geometric reason, a geometric theorem that we're using. So we always put in brackets Pythag to show and to tell our marker or to tell our teacher that we are using Pythagoras, that there's a reason for me doing what I'm doing. But once you put your reason Pythag, you move on from that and you can now substitute. Right, everyone who's wanting to screenshot, I did give you a chance to screenshot. You don't just need to hang on. We'll do it just now. Okay, so guys, now we can substitute in what we know and what we're solving for. So remember, I don't know what my hypotenuse is. That's going to be AC squared. I do, however, know what the length of AB is. So if we go to our triangle, AB is the side length of 36 centimeters. So because I know that, I can substitute that into my equation. So AB is 36 squared. And if I then go and have a look for my side length BC, again, I do know what BC is. It's 15 centimeters. And so once again, I can substitute that value in 15 squared. Okay, now guys, there's lots of different ways to do the working out. As long as you do it all correctly and like with the correct operations, you're absolutely fine. So again, we still don't know what AC is. We'll get there. 36 squared is 1,200 and something. 1,296. 15 squared is 225. So if we add those two values together, we get 1,521. Oh, right. Now, really importantly, grade 8s, you are not looking for AC squared. You are looking for AC. You're looking for the unknown length. So we want AC, not AC squared. And so what that means is we need to get rid of our square. Now we know from equations, and if you've missed that or if you can't remember, go back to the videos. We know that from equations, the way we get rid of an operation is through inverse operations. And so what that means is that we need to square root both sides of my equation in order to get AC alone. So we are going to square root the AC squared, and we're going to square root the 1,521. What that does is it gets rid of the squared, leaving me with just the AC. And if we square root 1,521, we end up with 39 centimeters. And so through the use of Pythagoras, we were able to determine what our side length AC was. Okay, so guys, Pythagoras is all about looking at the sides you don't know, determining where your hypotenuse is, and essentially then just substituting into a formula in order to solve. Okay, so for those of you that for whatever reason, I'm just going to move this quickly, did not screenshot the beginning stuff, here it is, as well as question A. Whilst you are screenshotting, if anyone has got any questions, now is the time to raise your hand and ask. Otherwise, we're going to have a look at another example. So again, if you've got questions, you can raise your hand. No, Oratile, 36 plus 15 is not 39. That would be 49 or something. 51. It is 36 squared plus 15 squared. So have a look here at question A. We are adding the square. So we first said 36 squared. That gave us the 1,296. We then said 15 squared, which gave us the 225. Then only did we add them together to get the 1,521. And that answer was the answer that we squared. So we need to add together the squares. Kamva? There should be a pop-up to unmute yourself. Okay, Kamva, there's a pop-up that you need to push to unmute yourself. Okay, okay, so ma'am, do we have to draw the triangle thing when writing our answer? What triangle thing? If you mean the triangle thing, do you mean the 3 dots? Okay, so Kamva, I'm the one from the first slide. This horrendous monstrosity, no, you don't have to draw this triangle thing, absolutely not. This was me just explaining what Pythagoras is. All you need to do is the working out that we've shown you here, or that I've done there. So no, don't draw that horrible mess that I've attempted. Okay, Tamia, AC is 39 because, look at the second last step, the square root of 1,521, there we go, is equal to 39. So once you've square rooted that value, you end up with 39. And that is then our length for AC. Terrell, don't worry if you've drawn it. It's fine. Like, it's just an explanation, but you don't have to do it for each question. If you've drawn it now for the explanation, absolutely fine, but you don't do it for every single question. It's just a visual representation. It's okay. Okay, guys, so let's try another one. You all should have had your screenshots. I'm moving on to question B here. I need to move this all down because apparently I don't give myself enough space to do anything. Righty, so let's have a look at question B. So again, the first thing that we do is we imagine ourselves here at the 90-degree angle and we figure out which side is our hypotenuse. So look directly opposite you, side X is the hypotenuse. Now we can clearly see that is the side that we don't know, it's labeled X. And so we are once again looking for our hypotenuse. Now, guys, notice that on this triangle, there's no labels, A, B, C, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter. We don't need the labels. Generally speaking, we will give you labels, but you don't need them. Okay, so it's not the end of the world that they're not there. We can still do Pythagoras. Right, we can see that we've been given the other 2 side lengths. So I can see that I've got a side length of 12 units. Now, I don't know what units they are. They could be centimeters, they could be millimeters. I know it's some unit, I just don't know what it is. And 9 units. I have all of the information that I need in order to go and work out X. So remember, Pythagoras says to us, hypotenuse squared is equal to the sum of my 2 other sides squared. So that would be 12 squared plus 9 squared. Guys, if you wrote the 9 squared first, then plus the 12 squared, it's absolutely fine. You will get the same answer. Right, so our hypotenuse is X. So X squared is equal to 12 squared, which is 144, plus 9 squared, which is 81. We then add those 2 values together, and we get an answer of 225. So X squared is equal to 225. Now remember, we don't want X squared, we want X. So we need to square root both sides in order to get rid of the squared, leaving us with just the X. And so X is equal to 15. Now again, remember, I don't know what these units are. So if we don't give you units, you literally just write units in your answer. It is some sort of length, so it has to have units attached to it. We just don't know what they are. So we just put units in our answer to show that we know that there is a unit of length. We just don't know what it is. Right, so guys, really not too tricky. Once we identify what sides we have, we are able to substitute into our formula and solve. Remember again, we don't want X squared, we want X. So we have to remember square root. All right, any questions, grade 8s on the chat? Or you can raise your hands. Any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to try the 3rd example by yourselves. Wandle? Again.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great today. So ma'am, my question is, right? So
Yeah.
if say for example we got like the hypotenuse side was given, right? And then they said we should find maybe one of the sides. What should we do in that situation?
You are looking into the future here, Lwandle. So we are going to do, hopefully, an example like that. I might skip to it after another few examples, but we still use Pythagoras. It just means that our solving of our equation is going to involve an extra step, but we still use the Pythagoras theorem.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, we are getting to it though. Right, Roha?
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I wanted to ask, is there any particular like formula for Pythagoras? Is there a formula for it that we have to use in our exams?
Yeah, well, I mean, formula. So it's this beautiful monstrosity that I wrote up here. It's hypotenuse squared is equal to one side squared plus the other side squared. So Zintle has actually, I think Zintle put on the chat earlier, another way you could write it is hypotenuse squared, so capital H squared, is equal to side A squared plus side B squared. That's another way you could put it. As long as you remember the squares in the addition, you're okay to write it sort of in relation to the triangle you're given.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Nice questions, grade 8. Well done. Okay. Right, so guys, you're going to try the third one. Here's question C. And I'm also sorry, I think Zintle had actually sent me a message, so don't stress. Zintle, your formulas are absolutely, they're good. They're correct, perfect. Okay, so guys, I want you to try question C, just to help you out a smidge. If we have a look at where our right angle is, opposite it is side X, which means that X is our hypotenuse. Okay, so we're looking for the hypotenuse here. So let's give this one a try. Let's see how we go. I want answers for X, please. Zandile. Okay, so guys, what I'll do is I'll leave B up in case you didn't screenshot it while I was waiting, and also just to help you a little bit, guide you through how to do this question. I'll give you a minute or so, and then we'll have a look. Remember, you do have units, so your answers should have the appropriate units in it. Good, guys, nice. Right, would anyone like to raise their hand to explain how they did it? I'll give you a few seconds to think about whether or not you'd like to raise your hand. I know you don't like me springing it on you, so have a think. Nice one, Lem. Oh, did I unmute you? Sorry. Oh, there we go.
So ma'am, what I did, I said x squared equal to 12 squared plus 5 squared, and then I left a space, writing Pythag in brackets to signify
Excellent.
Yeah, to signify that I'm using Pythagoras.
Well done.
So then I said I squared 12, got 144, squared 5, got 25. I then said x squared equals to 169. But then I remembered, oh no, I don't want x squared, I want x. So then I square rooted x. Then I remembered what I do on the left, I also have to do on the right. So I had to also square root 169. Then my final answer was x equals to 13 centimeters.
Wonderful. Amazing explanation as well, Lawande. Good explanation of your inverse operations. Well done. You have definitely made my night a lot better than what it was half an hour ago. So thank you. Okay, guys, so Lwanda's beautifully explained it. And I just want to take a second and say I really appreciate how hard you guys work and how focused you are. It was a time and I really appreciate it. So thank you. Really, I see you guys, even those of you that don't necessarily always put up your hand or put an answer in the chat, see that you're working and genuinely really appreciate it. So thank you. Oh, see, now I'm getting all emotional because I was so angry and now you guys have been amazing. So thank you. All right, I'm going to get over myself. Your name is admin. However, I know your name is not admin. So please just remind me of your name and I'll also change it. Can you hear us? I can see you.
I can also hear some glitches, but the voice, no, on my side. Hey, admin.
Okay. All right, so just pop us a message or pop your question in the chat. Also, just let us know your name so we can change it so that you're not admin. And we'll try the question again just now, but put your question in the chat so long and we can help you. Alrighty, grade 8s, my sweet children. Let us do one more and then we'll take a little break. Actually, no, let's take a little break. I think we deserve it. All right, so brain break. Let us have a look. You know the deal. I want to know the last value of this equation down here. Let's give it a try. Let's give it a go. Okay, I see we've got our hand up again. So let's try it again. Okay, let's see if you can unmute now and if we can hear you now. Admin, there we go. I still can't hear you. Okay, double check your audio connection as well. Make sure you're connected to the correct audio option. Otherwise, like I say, put it in the chat and we'll definitely help you, but I can't hear anything, unfortunately. Your Oratile, you're so quick. I don't even know. I'm doing my best here. Okay. Okay, admin, please also let me know what your name is because I can't keep calling you admin. So we don't put 90 degrees in our method because the 90 degrees was given to us. So like I said at the start, Pythagoras only works in a right angle triangle. So all of our calculations only exist because we were given the 90-degree angle. Because it was given to us, that we don't have to put it anywhere. It was there. We know it's a right angle triangle. We can now use that fact to work out what the unknown side length is. So it doesn't need to be anywhere in our method or in our working out. Thank you, Jabulo. Right, guys, I have seen the correct answer come through. I just need to find the first person who got it. Yagilwe, do you want to raise your hand and explain it for us? If not, that is okay. Just let us know and I will pick the next person. Whoopsie. That's okay. You don't have to be scared. You did get it correct, but that's okay. I'll go to the next person who got it. Kamva, if you want to raise your hand and explain, oh golly, and explain how you got your answer. Guys, we don't have to be scared. We're all here to support each other.
Yes. but
Okay,
people,
third
this
time's
is
charm.
when it should come. Why are you scared? You guys got it right.
Daniela? Daniela, you were the next lucky one. Would you like to let us know how you got there?
Come on, my people. What's going on today?
At this point, if you got 93 and you are willing to explain it for us, raise your hand for me.
Yeah. Come on, my pibs. Come on, Will
Come on, guys.
guys. There we go.
Yay, Daniela. Woohoo. I don't know if I unmuted you. Let's try again.
Hi.
There we go.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for the first sum, I said like 3 plus like x equals to 9. And obviously I like minus like 9, 3 from 9. So that would be 6 in the middle for the bar
Nice.
cap. And then 3 plus the sunglasses is 12, equals to 12. 12 minus 3 would give you 9. So the sunglasses would equal to 9.
Nice.
And then I looked at the fire hydrant and the red shoe. I said 6 plus like x equals to 13. And like 13 minus 6 would give you 7. So the shoe would be 7.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said 9 plus 7 times by 12 because 6 plus 6 is 12. And it's double. And then I said 9 plus 7 times 12 would equal to 93.
Nice. Well done. And guys, what I really liked in that explanation, and Daniela, well done on thinking like this, is the use of x. You don't know something. We know that when we have an unknown, we can use a variable x. That's fine. You're solving an equation exactly like was explained, right? So at 13, 6 plus x equals 13, inverse operations minus 6. That's how we need to be thinking of these things. Just remember, as well, grade 8, that we do the multiplication first. So we first need to say 7 times 12, which gives us 84. Yeah, I don't know why I'm writing with a highlighter, but whatever, we're going to move on with it. And then we add the 9. Once we add the 9, we end up with 93. Very nice, grade 8. And a lot of you got it, and you need to have confidence in yourself because you're getting it right and you know what's going on. But I do get it. It's not always the easiest thing to raise your hand and speak in front of a whole class of 70 people, but really, really nicely done. Okay, guys, let's have a look at another one. So, I don't want to do let's see this one. Doesn't matter. The same question, guys. I've lost my mind. Right. So, example 2. Determine the length of KM. Now, if we again have a look, right angle, opposite my right angle, I have the side KM. That's the side I want. And so what that means is that my unknown length is in fact the hypotenuse. So I want you guys to try this one for me. You're looking for your hypotenuse. Let's see what we come up with. Give it a try. And remember, it's in centimeters, so your answer should have centimeters in it. That's a good way. Well done on remembering your reason. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you 1 more minute. Remember your reasons, remember your units. Remember to square root. With Pythagoras, you always need to do a square root before you get your answer. Okay, no matter which side you're working out, you will have to square root. So always just remember Pythag, to get my answer, I have to square root. Okay, let's have a see. So we know we're looking for our hypotenuse, which is km. So we want km squared is equal to 8 squared plus 6 squared. Now again, guys, if you said 6 squared plus 8 squared, it's absolutely fine. You will get exactly the same answer. Alrighty, so km squared is equal to 8 squared, which is 64, plus 36, because that's 6 squared. And so km squared is equal to 100. Now remember, we don't want km squared, we want km. So we need to square root both sides, because as we were told earlier, what we do to one side, you do to the other. And so km is equal to 10 centimeters. Alrighty, please remember your units in your answer. It is in centimeters, so you need to have the centimeters there. And again, remember that square root situation. Right, I'm just going to wait here in case anyone wants to screenshot, because the next one is the same. I've just lost my mind and I put the same example in. So take a screenshot and then we're going to move on. Lubanzi, you can use X. It's not the end of the world, but just bear in mind that the question did ask you for the length of km. So in your answer, I would just change the X to km to show that you have actually worked out km. But in your working out, if you use X, it's not the end of the world, but just always try to relate it back to what the question asked you. Okay, guys. So again, I want you to try P N. I know it says C, but it's because I skipped B. So if you want to change this label to B, that's fine. Let's look for the length of PN. PN is this length over here. It's a beautiful highlighting skill I have. So let's look for PN. Okay, now remember here, we don't have units. So you're just going to say, oh, excuse me. You're just going to put units in your answer. Excuse me, guys. Zandile, they are out of the room. My door's closed today. One of my babies was sleeping with me, but they are not joining me today. I'm sure they'll join us on another lesson though. Yo, guys, well done. We're so good at Pythag. Hopefully when we start spicing things up, we'll be just as good. I'm going to give you another minute. I am going to ask if anyone wants to explain. So I don't want hands yet, but start thinking about whether or not you'd like to explain, and you can put your hand up. You can start getting yourself ready. Right, would anyone like to raise their hand to explain this one for us? You can do it. Roha, yay.
Okay.
Roha, you there? I heard your voice start off with. I don't know what's happened. Just double check your audio connection. Oh, no. Yolanda, is it just me?
No, it's not you. I can't hear anything.
It looks like there's a bit of an audio problem. Oh, Roha, I'm so sorry. You were so ready.
Oh.
It looks
You
like
can put your
some-
answers in the chat though. Yeah.
Okay, Lesedi, let's try.
Hi, ma'am.
Evening.
Ma'am, okay, what I said, Pn square equals to 15 square plus 8 square.
Nice.
And then I said Pn square equals to 225 plus 64.
Okay.
And then I said, oh yeah, and then I said Pn squared equals to 289. And then I changed the squared into a root. So it was basically Pn equals to 289 squared, which equals to 17 units.
Perfect. Well done. Excellent. Okay, so guys, really importantly, exactly like Lesedi said there, we have to square root in order to just get Pn. Roha, don't stress. That's absolutely fine. You probably can't hear me as I'm saying this, but if you can, no stress. Alrighty, guys. So exactly, that's how we do it. All right, take a quick screenshot because I would like to deal with the question that was raised of what happens if we have the hypotenuse? What do we do then? I'm pretty sure I put an example in, and if I didn't, I'll make one up. Okay, screenshots. Alrighty. Guys, read my own mind. So let's have a look at this last question to end off. Now, for the life of me, I can't remember who asked this question, so you can remind me in the chat because I should remember, I just don't. I'm having. We have been asked to determine the value of y. Now again, before we do anything, we identify our hypotenuse. Here's my 90-degree angle. The side opposite it is my hypotenuse. So in actual fact, our hypotenuse is 20. We've been given the hypotenuse. What we've been asked to find here is the side y. Okay, so this side down the right-hand side, I don't know why I did that, side y. Right, but like I said, in response to that question, it doesn't change our method. We don't not use Pythagoras. It just means our working out looks a little bit different. And we're going to deal with this more, we're going to deal with this more in Wednesday's lesson rather. So remember, Pythagoras says the hypotenuse squared, I'm not going to keep writing on hypotenuse, just go h squared, hypotenuse squared is equal to the sum of my two other sides squared. So I'm just going to use A and B to represent my two other sides. So when we sub in what we know the hypotenuse now. That's 20. So 20 squared is equal to, I don't know, let's call the side A. So I don't know what A is, I just know it's y squared. And if this is side B, I do know that that's 15, and that's being squared. So all we have here is a little bit more working out that we need to do before we're able to get y. So 200 squared, 200. 20 squared is 400. Y squared is obviously y squared. And 15 squared is 225. Now, guys, remember, this is solving an equation. We want to get y. So the first thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to bring my 225 over using my inverse operations. So I'm going to have 400 minus 225 is equal to y squared, and 400 minus 225 is 175. And again, we don't want y squared, we want y. And so what we need to do is we need to square root both sides in order to get y alone. So that tells me that the square root of 175, which is not a nice answer, but it doesn't matter, which is 13,23 units, gives us our length of y. So guys, when we do have the hypotenuse, it doesn't change. We still have to do Pythagoras. The only thing that we now have to remember to do is we have to remember this inverse operation of subtracting the one value from the hypotenuse. That is the extra step that is added here. Now, another thing I just want you to take note of is all of the other examples we looked at, the answers were nice whole numbers. We do sometimes get decimal numbers. That's not a bad thing, right? It sometimes happens like that. Sometimes it's a whole number, sometimes it's a decimal. It doesn't matter. Remember to round off to 2 decimal places or whatever the question instructs you to do. But it's absolutely fine to get a decimal answer. So when we are looking for another side that isn't the hypotenuse, we still use Pythag. Like I said, we just have the added step of having to do the subtraction. Okay, so grade 8, if you've got any questions about this, please do raise your hand. I think you took screenshots of B.
There was just one question that they're asking if the formula itself, will they lose marks if they don't write the formula? And I said it depends on their teacher, no? Depends on if the teacher prefers them to have the h squared equals to a squared plus b squared.
Yeah, it does depend on your teacher, especially in grade 8 and grade 9. Honestly, though, the higher up you get, we don't care. As long as, so I would be absolutely fine with you saying 20 squared equals y squared plus 15 squared. Just remember that your first step, whichever is your first step, so whether it's the formula or whether it's the next step, has to have the reason. So as long as you've got the reason there, you're okay. Lubanzi, you don't have to. So if you're not instructed to round off specifically, so if the question didn't say round off to the nearest whole number or round off to 1 decimal place, we automatically do 2 decimal places. But if the question gives you something specific, then you do what the question's asked. The 2 decimal places is just the standard rounding. In your matric finals for maths and maths lit, they often say on the instruction sheet, round off to 2 decimal places. So we just work with 2 decimal places from the start.